Hello, it's 5 p.m. local time here in Warsaw. I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News. European leaders have offered their support to U.S. President Donald Trump ahead of his meeting with Vladimir Putin on Friday, but warned that any peace deal must include Ukraine and start with a ceasefire. Our correspondent, Alex Carrier, has been following this story and joins me now from Kyiv. Alex, European leaders just spoke with President Trump. What came out of the call?
Well, good afternoon, Maciej. We've had a flurry of statements from those very European leaders on the call with Donald Trump. Let's start with what we've heard from President Zelenskyy, of course, crucially on that call. He was also speaking with Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor. They were recapping what the conditions are for that European perspective. Any legal definition of Russian reoccupation, those potential recognition of Russian occupation of Ukrainian lands, not up for debate, according to the German Chancellor. Also calling for robust security guarantees for Ukraine, and that the negotiations have to be transatlantic and have to include Ukraine. And clearly, unless there is a concession or some movement from Russia in this meeting in Alaska, there has to be more pressure put on the Kremlin and on Vladimir Putin's regime. Those were the key points raised by Friedrich Merz and President Zelenskyy in a press conference just a few moments ago. We also heard from the French President, Emmanuel Macron, who was talking with Antonio Costa, the European Council President, just after this talk. President Macron says that President Trump will fight for a trilateral meeting between President Zelenskyy, President Trump, and President Putin of Russia. He also said, rather crucially, that there was no substantial discussion about territorial concessions, territorial swap at this stage. He referred to France's history, French history about sacrificing land as he saw it, and said that clearly no one can impose this on Ukraine, that the Ukrainians have to be at the table in any deal. But crucially, the message from all of these leaders was that what they communicated to Donald Trump, the first step in any lasting peace has to be a ceasefire, has to have the weaponry, the advances, the guns silenced for more negotiations, for a longer lasting peace to go ahead. So that was the key message conveyed by their these European leaders in the call with Donald Trump. We heard from Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission. She said that there was a very good call with Donald Trump, as she put it. We also heard from Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, former Dutch Prime Minister. Also on the call, he said that that the European partners on the call were united in pushing to an end to this terrible war against Ukraine, and he appreciated Donald Trump's leadership and close coordination with allies, saying that the ball is now in Putin's court. It seems, at least for now, that these European leaders are satisfied with the contact they had with the US president ahead of his meeting with Vladimir Putin, making it clear what the Ukrainian position is, making it clear that a ceasefire has to come first, making it clear that President Zelenskyy and Ukraine has to be involved in any further negotiations towards peace. Of course, this was the objective for these European partners. Make their message clear, send it across to Donald Trump ahead of his meeting to Vladimir Putin. But of course, the results of whether or not this messaging, this communication from the Europeans will have had an impact will only be clear in Alaska when President Trump meets President Putin. All eyes, of course, on that meeting on Friday. Maciej.
That was Alex Carrier reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Alex. Stay safe. Ukraine's General Staff reported that over the last 24 hours, Russian and Ukrainian forces clashed 165 times. At least one person was killed in the Kherson region.
The remains of a 61-year-old woman were found under the rubble of a residential building in the Kherson region after a Russian strike destroyed the structure. The local governor took to Telegram to report that 4 other people were wounded in the attack on the area. Images shared from the Dnipropetrovsk region show damaged and destroyed residential buildings, with emergency services working to extinguish fires and clear debris. Ukraine's Air Force reported that overnight Moscow's forces used 49 kamikaze drones and 2 ballistic missiles. Ukrainian forces managed to shoot down both missiles and 32 of the drones.
The approaching Russian-Belarusian military exercises will include practice planning for the use of nuclear weapons and the Oreshnik missile system, said Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Khrenin. The official stated that Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko demands Minsk's forces be ready for all possible scenarios following his closed-door meeting with the head of state. The Zapad 2025 exercises are expected in mid-September, and they are among the biggest drills conducted by the two countries' militaries in both size and scope. According to the Belarusian Defense Ministry, over 13,000 soldiers will be deployed for the drills, but NATO estimates that the exercises could involve as many as 150,000 troops. Minsk has been Moscow's key ally, with Belarus previously reported as hosting Russian nuclear weapons on its soil, after the two signed an agreement to that effect in 2023. Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz signed a contract to modernize Poland's F-16 fighter jet fleet. The upgrade and overhaul will cost the Polish government around $3.8 billion. The officials said F-16 CD Block 52+ fighters have been the backbone of the Polish Air Force for the last 20 years. The model, in production since 2003, lacks certain features that newer variants offer, especially radar and targeting systems, and lags in terms of interoperability behind other aircraft, especially the F-35 fighter jets. Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz said the Polish F-16s will be upgraded to the Block 72 variant, also known as Viper. Ahead of the Polish President Karol Nawrocki's visit to the United States, Marcin Przydacz, the head of the International Policy Bureau at the Office of the President, revealed the top items on the agenda with the US President Donald Trump to TVP World. They will include energy cooperation and the presence of 10,000 US troops in Poland and broader security issues.
The agenda is already set. Of course, security will be for sure number one on the agenda. With regards to the Alaska talks, with regard to the current situation to the east of our borders, having in mind the aggressive steps taken by Russian Federation in the last decades, basically.
The Polish National Prosecutor's Office has charged 6 suspects with acts of sabotage and arson commissioned by foreign intelligence services. The indictments have been filed with the district court in Wrocław. Organizing and carrying out acts of sabotage in Poland, including arson attacks, arms and drug trafficking and other criminal offences. These are the charges brought against a 6-person organized criminal group. The spokesperson for the Polish National Prosecutor's Office said that the defendants include 3 Polish nationals and 3 Belarusians. 2 of the defendants denied an involvement, while the others admitted only partial involvement in the offences. All of them are facing sentences ranging from 10 years to life behind bars. Poland's economy is gaining momentum. New data shows the GDP growth has accelerated in the second quarter of this year, driven by strong consumer spending and public investment.
Poland's economy grew by 3.4% in the second quarter of 2025 compared to the same time last year, slightly above the 3.2% growth seen in the first quarter. Experts say this is a healthy sign, mostly thanks to people spending more money and the government investing in public projects. Some sectors like factories and construction showed little growth, and selling goods abroad may have actually hurt the numbers a bit. Still, economists expect the economy to remain strong this year and grow even faster in 2026.
And to learn more about Polish economy, stay with us for Marie Cato's The Bottom Line, coming up next.